friends here just move to the exits, and some fire marshals will make sure we're all safely taken away. In addition, we also have some of our Apple Distinguished Educators with us today, 5 of them, and they will be up on stage later to share what they're doing, some of the innovative things that they're doing with iPad in their classrooms. So I hope you will find that interesting. The Apple Distinguished Educator Programme consists of more than 2,100 educators right across the globe who are doing some fantastic and innovative work in their classrooms using Apple technology. They're incredibly passionate about what they do, and you'll see that come through in their presentations. As I say, we've got a really full agenda for you today. Most of the morning we will be in here, in Hall 1. But once we reach coffee, we'll be going into the breakout sessions, which, as I say, will be in the personalised agenda on the app, on your iPad. We continue up to lunch in those, and then after lunch again, continuing the workshops and seminars until we return here towards the end of the day, absolutely exhausted, but full of new information, I hope, where we will close up with our keynote speaker for the day. And then hopefully, if you do have some time at the end of the day, we'd love you to join us for some further networking and some drinks just outside where you just had breakfast. So, let's get started. At Apple, our goal is to build great products that enrich people's lives. And we believe that nowhere else does that resonate more than in the classroom with teachers and with their students. For us, education is more than just a market. It's a core value. We've been part of education now for nearly 40 years, working alongside teachers such as yourselves, authoring fundamental research, and of course, through the products and services that we build. We believe that education is a fundamental human right. And just like some of the groundbreaking work we're doing around the environment and inclusion, we are leading the way to ensure equitable access to a quality education. Apple technology changes what it means to learn. And we look at that and address it in 3 important ways. First of all, through our great products, working alongside teachers such as yourselves. Together, we can fundamentally change the learning experience. Secondly, as I say, by ensuring access, equitable access to a quality education through initiatives such as the work we do building accessibility into all our products. Or, for example, the projects we're doing in the US, ConnectEd, where we've donated $100 million in products and teacher training to 114 schools in some of the most underdeveloped areas of the country. And we're working on similar projects in other parts of the world at the moment. And finally, helping students develop the skills that they need for a changing workplace. This includes the ability to be creative, critical thinking, and to collaborate. So we know that you need to prepare your students. We all know some of our students are going to jobs that don't exist today. And those that are going into jobs that exist today, well, those jobs are changing at a rapid pace due to the introduction of mobile devices and the influence of apps. iPad and immersive apps not only engage students deeply in their learning, but also provide them with the skills for this fast-changing world. And just how fast is this world changing? If we take a look at a student at university today, they were born in 1995. For me, that's a bit of a depressing thought in its own right. But born in 1995 means they've never known the world without the internet. For those at high school, well, they've always been able to use a search engine to type the answer to pretty much any question that they have. You think of the impact that that has on the teacher, who used to be the conduit of information to students, the impact. At middle school, they're used to going home, and making contacts with their friends on Facebook or tweeting about what they're doing, for them it's just as natural as it is for many of us picking up the phone. And for students at primary school, they've never known the world without multi-touch devices. Just last week, I was watching a little girl, 13 months old, and the way that she was whizzing around an iPad. She can't do much else, but she really knows how to use an iPad. And yet, some institutions don't allow technology into the classroom. And yet it's so pervasive across the rest of what we do. Apple has built an ecosystem that brings together all the elements that we believe are necessary to support teachers and learners in this world. Our customers tell us it's the way teachers want to teach, and it's the way students want to learn. Of course, we make all the hardware and software that fits seamlessly together that allows you to focus on the teaching and not the technology. We also build great, free productivity and creativity apps, something that Apple has long been associated with. We provide free services such as iTunes U, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that, to build engaging learning experiences and pathways for your students. And finally, just a whole planet of content, apps and books that are available for you to use in the classroom. Taking this all together, this is what we call the Apple Learning Ecosystem, and it's something that we've been working on now for close to 10 years. If you think of the possibilities available to you with your understanding of what it takes for students to learn, and combine that with the possibilities of this learning ecosystem, we believe that you're more powerful than you think. And we understand that one of the goals of your institution is making sure that you're preparing students for life beyond school. So I'm going to talk to you about 3 key skills that are valued in the workplace: critical thinking, collaboration, and creativity. And I'm going to share some stories from industry about how iPad is impacting these skills within those industries, and how we can bring those experiences into the classroom. So let's start with critical thinking, and a company called SKF. Some Scandinavians will probably know quite well. Actually, a global engineering company, manufacturing company, more than 48,000 people worldwide. Their products are probably in the seats that you're sitting on today. You wouldn't have been able to get to this summit without the products that are in aircraft and motor cars and all sorts of things. They're absolutely everywhere in the products that we use every day. And their engineers need to process and analyze huge amounts of information in order to make key decisions. And these engineers are often working remotely. And iPad helps facilitate this critical thinking process. We know that it's really important for students to develop critical thinking skills, to not take information at face value, to be great problem solvers, just like these engineers. Students need to be able to establish big ideas and questions, and then build a framework to research those, to access and analyse the world of information that we know is out there, and to develop a solution or proposal for the problem. In an iPad classroom, your students could work together to first of all understand the problem that they're trying to solve by carrying out research, filtering, analyse and interpreting the results. For example, using iBooks, where they can take notes and highlight information that they can take anywhere with them. Not only that though, the rich multi-touch experience in iBooks textbooks adds to that with pictures and videos, the ability to delve down here, in this instance, to the cellular level, or within the book run simulations as to what could be happened. So if you think about this research that they're doing, they can do their analysis, they can run scenarios within the context of a book. And that's very difficult to do on the printed page. And then they can organise their thoughts and brainstorm project ideas and solutions using a mind mapping app like Poplet. They may need to carry out some additional research or document evidence and context using the built-in camera. And then you might ask them to gather all their data and observations together in a way that addresses the problem and highlights the solution. And they can bring together photos and video and data in a spreadsheet, such as numbers. And you will see in some of the workshops and seminars, some of the schools going through this exact process today. So now let's move on to collaboration and the Mayo Clinic. For the Mayo Clinic, collaborating as a team with staff, with nurses, with doctors is critical. Getting the latest patient data so collectively they can work together to diagnose a patient's condition is very, very important to them to improving patient care. When students work together in the classroom, we know that collaboration is a critical work and life skill that they all need to develop and is a key part of the learning process. Being able to learn with and from your peers, just like we all do in the workplace, and to build a project together helps reinforce their understanding of the topic, as well as building an appreciation for the process that they're going through. In an iPad classroom, collaboration is again front and centre. For example, your students could be taking notes and using Evernote to promote and gain agreement around key issues. They could storyboard concepts using an app such as Paper. And one of the beautiful things about the iPad versus a traditional notebook computer is the form factor means it's a very collaborative device. It's very easy to pass around, to share what you're doing. Whenever I visit some of your schools and go in the classroom and see students together, even where every student has their own iPad, often you will find that students put down one of the iPads and perhaps work together on one of them. It really promotes a collaborative style of working. They could even build an animated timeline using an app such as Puppet Pals. We have a teacher in the UK, Sophie Post, who teaches Tudor history. She divides her classroom up into small groups, and then she asks them to look at particular events and create a story around that. They work together, choosing their own roles, they take parts, and they build an animated timeline, highlighting and telling the story of those events. Or they could perhaps write a children's book together. Here's a great one on eating healthy food with our favourite superhero, Calcium Man, using an app called Book Creator. There is virtually no workplace where collaboration is not a highly valued skill. And using content, just like in these examples, helps students to best express and share their ideas. And you'll see this in action during the course of today with a little project that ACS Hillingdon International School are doing, and we'll be asking them up on stage in a moment to talk about what they're doing during the course of the day. And finally, creativity. And a company called Bechtel, who build quite large things, such as the Channel Tunnel, the Hoover Dam, perhaps the airport that you arrived at today. I believe they're working on the Crossrail project in London as well. For them, creativity is hugely important. Many of the things that they are building have never been built before. So they need to be creative where that work is taking place, not in some back office remote from the site. That creativity comes out of the office, and their engineers and designers are able to use that out in the field. We know that a student's ultimate expression of learning is some kind of creative project. When a student can reteach or reinterpret a concept, we know that they are achieving higher order thinking, higher order skills. And there is no better creative platform, we believe, than the iPad and the myriad universe of apps that are available for it. In fact, we often challenge schools as to whether they are making full use of mobile technology, and where and how does learning take place. With the iPad, the classroom can be anywhere, but creativity is still front and centre. With the iPads, your students, again, can work in a variety of ways, such as building a book report using Minecraft. In this instance, this student built an environment that he felt reflected the setting from the novel that he was studying. And this aligns with those skills needed by the Bechtel engineers, tapping into creativity in what used to be an everyday assignment. Here you can see the environment. Alternatively, they could record a public announcement using Adobe Voice with some 25,000 pictures and their own voice. Alternatively, they could be using 120 different brushes to paint a picture, or even use music to illustrate a literary theme using Figure by Propellerhead. If you want to see creativity in action, take a visit to the science challenges here today, and you'll discover how you can learn from a teddy bear with a parachute, or a person on a trampoline. The variety of creative expression on iPad is enormous. The ability to creatively problem solve and express ideas in multiple ways to multiple audiences is a skill that can only grow in demand. And we know because that is a skill that we value at Apple. So you see how the skills that these organisations value can be developed during the learning process. And some of the content that they are using to do this, some of the possibilities that are available. During the course of today, you will have the opportunity to see and experience how others are putting this into effect. But what resources are available to you to help you get started? I understand a lot of you here are starting on your journey. So what's available to you to help you get started? Well, I've talked a little bit about iBooks and showed those. And just now we've gone through some examples of the types of apps that you might want to use in your classroom. The iTunes Store, the commercial iTunes Store, that has a whole wealth of materials, podcasts, music, documentaries that teachers are using in the classroom. But I want to talk expressly about iTunes U. iTunes U lets you curate content from across the App Store, the bookstore, the internet, as well as your own content. And from that, pull it together into a single place where you can create learning pathways for your students that suit disparate learning styles and the different abilities within your classroom. You can create assignments and posts for your students. Even link those, for example, to a chapter in a book. So when they need to read the chapter, it opens exactly where they need to be, and they can take the notes that they need to. We've built discussions in, so you can have a discussion with your students, and they can have a discussion amongst themselves. And you can attach that to any of the posts. Or the discussion can be an assignment in its own right. iTunes is a great way to organise learning content for your students and give them the context that they need. The public catalogue of iTunes U contains thousands of courses provided by teachers and institutions from right across the globe. You can use these courses in their entirety to teach in your classroom, or you can build your own courses on the back of them. Teachers will find a huge range of content, from primary sources to famous speeches available on iTunes U. Here, for example, is a set of iTunes U courses created by the Stephen Peirce Foundation. Additionally, curriculum leaders and experts are also creating iTunes U courses that contain apps, books, and all the reference materials they need, aligned to all sorts of different standards across the world. So that's iTunes U. But obviously, we've talked about apps, we've talked about books, there's these iTunes used courses. We know, we understand from you that you want to be able to organise this content, bring all the related content together in a way that you can easily find what you need. So we've organised the content in two different ways. First of all, we do it by year level and subject. So for example, if you're teaching mathematics at secondary school, you can click on secondary school, you can tap down, and you'll see mathematics amongst all the different subjects. You can tap down into there, and you can find all the different apps that are available to you for teaching mathematics. And again, they'll be organised by algebra, fractions, and other things that I've forgotten from my days of studying mathematics. Alternatively, we organise them into topic areas or curriculum areas. So again, all the resources are available for you to get started. We've also built some discovery guides that act as guides through this amazing content. And they've got great tips for you. They link into some of the great content that we found out there that we know is being used by people such as yourselves. In addition, we have to provide some lesson ideas as to how you might start using this within your class, which therefore hopefully sparks off other ideas as to what you might want to do. And we've also created some iBooks that explain in more detail some really popular apps that teachers have told us that they're using, and again, how you might use that for some lesson ideas in your classroom. And you can see this relates back to what I was saying about some of those key skills. Here, for example, this book is about stop motion studio. There's your objective. That's setting out and defining the problem. The activities that you need to go through, accessing and analysing the information, building the solution and presenting it back. So hopefully, these are resources that you will take some time to look at. I hope you will find useful to help get you started. So I've provided you with an overview of some of the great tools and content that are available for you to start using within your institution. Now, don't worry, I'm not now going to ask you to go out in the cold and start doing this for yourselves, but you are going to have the opportunity to explore some of these possibilities as to how these creative tools are being used, but also to hear from others, how other educators are using them in their classrooms. And that's what our schools will be doing in the workshops and seminars with you later. And we'll also provide you with an opportunity to gain some insight about how to deploy these devices across your institution, and also how to cope with the change that ultimately comes about when you're doing this. So that's it from me for the moment. I'm now going to invite John Wells from Cleveland School in Somerset to come up on stage and share his story with you.